the Democrats put up a bill on March 1st called the For the People Act of 2019. So just to give you an idea of the links that they are willing to go to here, right? Because when you talk about like morality versus politics, morality is a different ball game. Now it's kind of like, should we even follow the political process? Does the political process at this point matter? What if the political process is getting in the way of what we know is morally right? Well, that presents a real problem. Now we are asking ourselves, do we throw the political process as such out the window? Well, now we know the answer, dear listener. To the left, the Democrats, the answer is an unequivocal yes. Quoting from a Zero Hedge article here. This is from this week. Pelosi spoke on the importance of passing H.R. 1, the For the People Act of 2019, to lay the foundation to pass the Voting Rights Act, strengthened after the actions of the Supreme Court, which significantly weakened it, she said. Specifically, Pelosi said immigrants, quote, make America more American, end quote, and we should not be, quote, suppressing the vote of our newcomers to America, end quote. So when we talk about, quote here, so when we talk about newcomers, we have to recognize the constant reinvigoration of America that we all have been our families, Speaker Nancy Pelosi said. Quote, and that unless you are blessed to be Native American, like stands with a beer, which is a blessing in itself that we respect. But that constant reinvigoration of hope, determination, optimism, courage to make the future better for the next generation, those are American traits. And these newcomers make America more American. And we want them, when they come here, to be fully part of our system. And that means not suppressing the vote of our newcomers to America. Skipping to the end. I am honored. This is this is now the friend and associate of AOC, Ayanna Pressley. They say in this article that she may have outdone Pelosi with her latest stunt. So she introduced an amendment to this bill. She's saying, quote, I am honored and excited. And maybe there's like an AOC voice here. I don't know. I am honored and excited to be introducing my very first amendment on the House floor. An amendment to H.R. 1, and of course she had to hashtag it. An amendment to, oh my God, dude. I am honored and excited to be introducing my very first amendment on the House floor. An amendment to hashtag H.R. 1, the hashtag For the People Act. My amendment will lower the voting age from 18 to 16, allowing our youth to have a seat at the table of democracy. Hashtag 16 to vote, she said.
God, I read that tweet, dude.
God, man. This is the future of our country.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the first millennial to become president, and then they're going to start using the word president as a verb. And be like, oh, just hashtag presidenting today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, there you have it, dear listener. I mean, like when they take away our vote, right? When they dilute our vote, the way that they're trying to do, they're trying to get illegals the right to vote right now, literally, right? They're trying to push the threshold downward so that 16-year-olds can vote, right? Which is absurd. 16-year-olds can't even think yet, much less vote, right? I'm not even sure if 18-year-olds should be allowed to vote, but I think it's a fair trade because 18-year-olds can be drafted. So, okay, if you can be drafted, sure.
Yeah,
even women. Vote. Voting age used to be 21, dear listener. Speaking of, that's a fact. It used to be 21. So, yeah, but I mean, dear listener, when they take away your guns, when they take away your vote, I mean, which is objectively what the left is trying to do right now, you don't have much else. You don't have much else with which to operate as a United States citizen. And you know something, Nancy Pelosi? The only thing I got to say to you, let me tell you something about Texas. All right, I came home to defend my homeland, right? And you're going to take this away over our dead body. You know something, bitch? Come and take it. That's all we got to say here in Texas. Come and take it.
Yeah. This is like vote inflation. That's what it is.
It is. It's vote
Yeah.
rigging. Straight up vote rigging. Yes. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
Russ, I think you added something into the to this show prep here. So now this, of course, this bill passed the House. So this is now just giving. So what you have is the left saying we want our border to be penetrable, and we want the people who penetrate our border to come here and vote, presumably for us, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Now this bill passed. It passed yesterday, as a matter of fact. Although Russ, you added something in the show prep. Can you red pill me on this about the 16-year-olds?
Yeah, absolutely. Dear listener, thanks to some semblance of common sense left in the Congress, the 16-year-old voting age got taken out of the bill. It was voted down by the House. So thank God that common sense prevailed in that. Now, dear listener, it's true. H.R. 1 did pass the House. Now, I had this in bots, but I think it's more important to kind of mention it now. I'm going to read from a Daily Caller piece. It goes thus. It dropped on the 7th, which was 2 days ago on Thursday. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell held a press conference Thursday to step up his attacks against H.R. 1, the massive election reform bill currently being debated in the House, as a, quote, turkey and a, quote, parade of horrible, warning Democrats that supporting the bill will help Republicans win in 2020. McConnell was defiant when he asked why he wouldn't bring H.R. 1 to the vote on the Senate floor. Quote, because I get to decide what we vote on, was his response. Yeah, you know something, you son of a bitch? You do get to decide what we vote on in the Senate. You decide the agenda of the Senate. Why is the vote on the emergency resolution right now up for a vote in the Senate? Thanks a lot, Turtle. Thanks a lot, Mr. Turtle, Mr. Cocaine Mitch. Appreciate it a bunch. You know what I mean? But again, Luke, this is how the right loses. Look at how Mitch McConnell just bought into the premises of the left.
All of it, yeah. He's
right.
I mean, when he says like, more Republicans are going to win if this could, like, as if that's a bad thing. Was that what he said?
Yeah, right. Exactly
Mitch
right.
McConnell is a garden variety cuck. That's all there is to it. And yeah, there's just nothing more to say. I mean, I don't know what else to say. That's all he is.
It's frustrating, dude. You're triggered, boy.
I'm just so tired of how weak they are, man. It's so pathetic.
I am too, brother.
The thing is, half the stuff I don't even agree with half the things they say. Like, I don't really agree with much of Trump's immigration policy, yet even I could argue his own position better than he could. You know, and then Mitch McConnell, it just goes without saying, and we haven't even gotten to the worst of it yet.
Yeah, true. That's true.
Well, speaking of which, should we go there now? I think we're ready.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it, man. Let's get this triggering out of the way here in the first segment, man. And try to move on from here, man.
So, okay. All right. So, dear listener, we're moving into this Rand Paul, the cucking of the cucking this week. I normally like Rand Paul. I want to like him. Both him and Cruz. They've been really doing well lately. I was very disappointed to see this, to be honest with you.
Me too.
But I'll try to explain why I'm disappointed in this, because there's an important nuance in this. So you may be familiar with that Rand Paul came out this week and basically blocked Trump's national emergency declaration. So. Quoting a Axios piece here, taken from The Lead, Senator Rand Paul disclosed on Saturday that he will vote in support of a resolution this month to block President Trump's emergency declaration, reports the Bowling Green Daily News. By the way, the title is articled, Trump veto Rand Paul to vote to block emergency declaration, forcing Trump veto. Quote, I can't vote to give the president the power to spend money that hasn't been appropriated by Congress. We may want more money for border security, but Congress didn't authorize it. If we take away those checks and balances, it's a dangerous thing. The article goes on to say, qualifying why this matters, that Paul's vote, along with the votes of Republican Senators Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Tom Tillis of North Carolina, gives the Senate the majority necessary to block Trump's national emergency. Senator Lamar Alexander also warned Trump last week that he will face a GOP rebellion if he follows through with the declaration. Trump has already vowed to veto the resolution if it passes, which will be the first veto of his presidency. Now, do you have thoughts on this, Russ, or do you want me to just jump in?
Well, not really. I mean, first of all, actually, I have tons of thoughts on this. Okay, first of all, dear listener, all right, Again, why in the hell is Cocaine Mitch allowing this even for a vote in the Senate in the first place? All right. Thought number one. Thought number two. Yes, this is going to pass the Senate. There's no doubt about it. This is going to go to President Trump, and he is going to have to veto in protection of his declaration of emergency on the southern border, which is ridiculous. Now, dear listener, what is going to happen after the president casts his first veto ever, right? This will not survive the veto because the margins are too thin in both the House and the Senate. Think about the budget bill that passed, right? That passed the Senate like what, 83-17? That's veto proof. Same majority, same type of margin in the House, okay? Those margins don't exist to supersede the president's veto on this right now, right? So we're going to be okay. And even Lindsey Graham has come out and said, yeah, it's probably going to pass. They're going to pick up some Republican support. We've heard as many as 10 Republicans in the Senate are going to vote against the emergency declaration. We don't know that to be true yet, but we've heard as many as 10. Rand Paul predicted 10, and now I'm hearing, with my ear to the ground, dear listener, I'm hearing that this might be true, that there might be 10. Even still, with those 10 Republicans in the Senate alone, that's not enough to supersede the president's majority or the president's veto. So we're okay for now, right? But my only thought about it is this, Luke. I mean, my comment on it is this, rather. Okay. Now, Rand Paul. All right. Listen, I love you to death, man. I'm sorry you got your ass beat by that leftist. I'm sorry you have to have surgery. You're still having chronic pneumonia. I was really speaking well of you. Luke has been really speaking well of you. The HSP boys have called you out numerous times in these hallowed halls for the work that you're doing in the Senate. So why now, Rand Paul? Why now are you going to cuck? This is the most important decision going on in our government right now. Rand Paul, if you're so principled, if you want these checks and balances, okay, you were in the Senate when Obama was in the presidency. That was the right time to check executive power. Back then, Mr. Paul. Right now is the exact wrong time to do it. Why are you all of a sudden growing a pair right now? Why now all of a sudden is it responsible for you to stand up to the president? Why not 8 years ago, Mr. Paul? Inquiring minds and the HSP boys would like to know.
Yeah, my take on it is that I understand why he's doing this, which you just alluded to, Russ, which is that he wants to stand by his principles, and I respect that. We talk about this a lot on HSP. We've talked about this in many, many episodes, going probably back to episode 1, how important principles are. And so in that sense, yeah, I totally get it. But on the other hand, there's a question worth asking. What sort of a world do we live in? What is our reality, politically speaking? The answer is it's a fallen one. In terms of politics, we live in a fallen world. You have to act in accordance with that. That is the system that we are working with right now. We didn't create that. We don't want that. We want a proper, honest, political system, political situation. We don't have that. It's been corrupted. It's been tainted. This is what we have to deal with. So we are on the side of trying to fix it. But when you're in the middle of the game and the other side is cheating or willing to cheat, then rules are out the window by their own decree. Rules are out the window by their own decree if they are willing to cheat. Do not ever let your virtues be used against you. That is where Rand Paul went wrong here.
Absolutely well said, brother. Yes, so well said.
So only when all players abide by the rules of the game can you be expected to do something like standing up for your principles in this sort of a situation. But when the rules of the game are being violated, when somebody is coming after you and they are cheating, lying, breaking the rules, then you have no choice. That's the point. This isn't you cucking on your principles. This isn't your principles breaking down. This isn't you going back on your principles. They are necessitating you to behave in a certain way. They require you to act that way. They are forcing you because they are cheating. They are forcing you to do this. This is not by your choice. When someone points a gun at your head and says, tell me whatever, and you just straight up lie to them so you can stay alive, that doesn't mean that you're cucking on your principles. They forced you to do that.
Right. Right.
Okay, so this is the same situation. If someone has a gun at your head, yeah, you lie your ass off to stay alive. And that's what this is about right now. So this is his problem, is he's allowing his virtues to be used against him. And the left is not doing the same. They don't hold themselves to the same standard that we hold ourselves. Therefore, we have to go by their standard.
That's absolutely correct. Yeah. Yeah. You know, a lot of other commentators besides Luke and myself have been talking about this, dear listener. And Luke and I, in these hallowed halls, already have mentioned the fact that this statesmanship to which Luke alludes from the 1950s and the 1960s, that's out the window. That's been out the window for a long time, right? Why all of a sudden now is it appropriate for Rand Paul to become such a statesman? It's not. This is the wrong time. Again, my contention is the right time was 8 years ago when Obama was in office, but nope. Didn't hear anything about checks and balances then. You know, didn't hear anything about my principles back then, right? Now, all of a sudden, when we are at the foreleading issue of our time, dear listener, now all of a sudden, with the left cheating, with the left tipping the scales, as Luke just detailed for you, dear listener, now all of a sudden Rand Paul has some principles.
Yeah, what makes it particularly egregious is that you have Nancy Pelosi coming out and saying, we want penetrable borders, and we want those people to be able to vote in spite of the fact that they are here illegally. Trump's declaring a national emergency, probably unrelated. It's serendipitous that those two go together, I think. I don't think Trump saw that coming even.
Yeah.
But so you have that, and then you have Rand Paul going, my checks and balances. There are no checks and balances. Nobody is checking and balancing anything here. Okay?
That's right.
So don't try to introduce that into you're trying to, you think you're pouring a glass of clean water into a muddy pool as if that's going to help.
Yeah.